to dive right into it because I cannot thank this man enough. It is game day. It's also Thursday. And every Thursday, we try to have him on, so we cannot thank him enough for making some time for us here on such a busy day. He's already got a staff meeting in the books. I'm talking about the head man from LSU baseball, Coach Jay Johnson. Coach, what's going on, man? How we feeling? Game day, baby.
Good morning. Let's go.
So 2 p.m. this afternoon in the box, Northern Illinois. And look, I think you probably know where this is all going to start, Coach. Gage Jump getting the nod, right? When you look at last weekend, who immediately just kind of grabbed people, got him excited. Jump was probably at the 4 of that debut weekend. What made you want to give him the nod here in the first game of the series?
Well, we brought him in to start. We've been building his arm back up because he's returning from Tommy John. We've been pretty diligent about that and wanted to make sure we position him for success, as we're hitting our stride in SEC play and throughout the year. So this was the plan all along. I just, knowing how good he is, we weren't going to let that opening day one slip away without that guy touching the mound. So we had him set up for a close situation, and that's what happened. And he was great. Now he's had, 6 days off and only 11 pitches, and now we want to begin our ramp to, getting him to the rotation.
Coach, as we talked last week, I know you've always got a plan in place and you have an idea of what you want to see over a series weekend or even in the midweek. Were you able to stick to your plan that you had for opening weekend? Did it go maybe how you thought it would?
Yeah, I actually think it was great. I think we hallmarked this year that it would be important that we'd be really good in close games. And we were in 3 of them. And I think, side note, last year VMI won a game at Mississippi State opening weekend, and Central Arkansas beat Vanderbilt. So I thought that was a good accomplishment to do that. And I like to not have to teach lessons because we lost the game. Like, we're going to always teach lessons, but we'd rather do that when we win, obviously. And so I thought the guys were good. I thought they grinded through 4 days. Obviously, having some depth on both sides helps us out with that. Still some mixing and matching with some lineups and keeping guys' bodies and minds underneath them. And we were able to do that in the context of winning close games, and I like to see that.
And Coach, one of the things that really also I think jumped out off the screen last week is just the areas in which your cup overfloweth, right? Whether it's behind the dish, couple positions in the field, there's just so many viable candidates, and throughout a year, everybody's going to need to be involved. And so, what did it mean to you to then have a guy like Caden Travinsky who has been through those battles, who has seen his time on the bench, and then, it comes on hot last year, and then to start this year already named SEC Co-Player of the Week? Like, surely that helps you sell the message of staying ready and just putting team over self.
Yeah, for sure. And this is a place where you have to do that, obviously, because we want to win and make it about the team and always place the needs of the team above our own. And when you have great leaders, like Hayden, like Alex, like Josh Pearson, that have all been role players and they've all been the guy. I mean, if it wasn't for Dylan Cruz, Hayden probably the MVP of the Baton Rouge Regional last year.
Yeah.
And we won the national championship largely because the catch Josh Pearson made in Game 1 of the finals and the home run he hit in Game 3 of the finals. And those guys are perfect examples for what we want this thing to be. And so far, so good. And I want all our guys to want to play and want to contribute. I'll be very clear about that. But handling it in a professional manner, I think we're off to a good start with that.
Coach, it's a great point you make about handling like a pro and, being a running back, like it was always running back by committee. And it didn't work unless every guy was happy for the guy that was out there. And when it was their turn, they went out there, they did their job, but they were never counting snaps depending on who was in the game. You just wanted the running back unit to do well. You have that same situation, it looks like, at catcher. You mentioned a couple of those guys right there, but then Brady Neal, it looks like they are the ultimate team players, but when it's their turn, they turn it on, they produce, but you know how it is. Like, that relationship has to be good for that to work, and it looks like it's certainly that and then some.
Yeah, those guys are all great. I think it's a unique situation. I would really like to challenge this stat. Like, are we the only team ever to win the national championship and have 3 catchers start over 20 games? Like, I want to find that. I want to find that out. But yeah, they all have unique skills. Love having all of them in the game. Obviously, Hayden, probably being the primary DH helps that situation a lot, where two of them are going to be in the game at the same time most of the time. So I'm pretty pleased with where we're sitting there right now, and they're great people. It's been awesome to have Alex and Hayden in the program for 3 years. It's awesome that they came back this year, and then Brady was a very big recruit for us, obviously, and getting him through the pro draft. So we got to take care of those guys. They've all had some checkered history with injury, and so there's a lot of figuring out in terms of how to line that up each weekend.
I mean, your attention to detail boggles the mind, Coach. When you look at last weekend, though, there's a couple. I mean, look, Luke Holman in his first time in LSU uniform could not have been more dominant, but one of the guys that seemed to steal a lot of the headlines was Stephen Milam. And, I mean, to be a freshman and to go out there and not just to finish the weekend 6 of 11, but his approach, right? Like, I mean, I'm a layman. I don't really understand it to the depth that you do, but his patience, his kind of discerning nature, how is that already there when he's just, 18 years old?
Yeah, it's one of those guys that's kind of built his whole life around baseball, and that's awesome. Those are the kind of guys that I want to have here. What I'm proud of him for is he had a learning curve in coming here in the fall, and I don't know how he couldn't, coming from high school baseball in New Mexico. But, we outlined his player development plan. He's literally checked all those boxes when he left in November. Come back, this is what you need to do. And he had a great lead up to the season in January, February, and obviously played well last weekend. And, as part of that group that's going to get a lot of playing time. We have about 12 guys that I feel like we're kind of rotating through, and, he'll stay in that rotation.
Results obviously matter, Coach, but when you're playing freshmen like that, and Milam and Jake Brown, different guys, and certainly some on the mound as well, what do you look for, like, when you throw a freshman out there? Because, again, results do matter, but it's not the only thing. Like, what are some of the things you look for to see if they're able to handle that moment that they're currently in, and also maybe to help you once you get to SEC play?
Yeah, I think self-control is probably the first thing that comes to mind. And, you mentioned Jake and you mentioned Steven. Both those guys have that, and they have really good skill. Like, they're highly skilled players, and those are kind of like my wheelhouse guys. I love the guys with power that hit the ball over the fence, and we certainly want as many of those guys as we can. But you have to have some balance, to have line of flexibility, ability to score in different ways, as we saw with the wind blowing in 100 miles an hour the other day. Our ability to play defense in that game was a large reason that we won a 2-0 game. So I just think they're both really skilled. I like how they're slowing the game down. I like how competitive they are, and they both got a lot of great days ahead of them here.
Coach Jay Johnson, we know you got a very busy day, man. Get out to the box this weekend. We got Northern Illinois, 2 p.m. today, 2 p.m. tomorrow, Stony Brook, and then 1 o'clock on Saturday and 1 o'clock on Sunday. Get out to the box. Going to be a beautiful weekend for some baseball. Thank you so much for making time for us, Coach.